Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network. KingofPodcasts.com.
AEW with a very good card, top to bottom. And Trick Williams has taken over TNA.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it. Because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
AEW, heck, you give us a good pay-per-view tonight, but man, come on, 4.5 hours. Oh my goodness, like what, 12:30 some odd, it was like 12:25 they finished up. I'm just getting here at 1 in the morning right now, on Memorial Day Monday, just trying to get this show up and going, but there's like so much that happened tonight. And seriously, a lot of people are comparing tonight to what Revolution was in 2022, I want to say it was. And listen, this was a very good pay-per-view to them tonight, and it really showcases a lot of things that are being done pretty well. I think everything's gotten put back together. Listen, last year going into Full Gear, it was pretty rough. I said back then that Tony Khan was having an issue because once the NBA deal was finalized and Warner Brothers Discovery, their broadcast partners, were able to go ahead and go through the motions of trying to go and get their deal done, because the biggest problem with the deal for the NBA was that TNT was not going to get the rights to go and carry games anymore because they had other broadcast outlets that were ready to go ahead and take over NBA coverage. So Warner Brothers Discovery tried to go and come in and try to hold on to NBA coverage, but they were outbid. It was the fact that, there's not so much honor among broadcasters from the fact that, well, if they have somebody else who's going to pay a little bit more, they're going to do that. That was the problem that Tony Khan had to deal with, because until that deal, the biggest deal they had in sports for Warner Brothers Discovery had to get resolved, then they could finally go ahead and get to the resolution and say, okay, what are we going to do now for AEW? Because that was the other live sports product they had to go ahead and get finalized, and the deal was done. And so far, the broadcast deal they've gone through compared to what WWE's dealt with right now with Netflix has worked out for me. It's been a little bit tougher to go and catch Collision. Like I'll admit, Saturday nights, it's just not easy for me to go and just pop down at 8 o'clock and watch Collision. But what I will say is, they've done a nice job of, first of all, getting rid of Rampage and Battle of the Bells. Those were two things we did not need. But they obviously saw something about Saturday nights and putting shows over there and doing something with it. But I think the most important thing they could do was being able to go ahead and have Collision being propped up after coverage of the NBA playoffs or the Stanley Cup, what have you. They were figuring out ways to go ahead and continue to give some chances for people to go ahead and watch Collision if it was going to get bumped up on Saturday night. Number one, because of WrestleMania, and because of other things that were going on that caused the coverage of Collision to be preempted. And they've worked through it. So the numbers for Collision have been not great, but they have the potential to get better. The Dynamite ratings right now are more steady than they were. They're definitely in the sub 600,000 range right now. A little over 600,000 viewers now, regularly, which is better. And they're up against pretty tough coverage when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA Finals. Now, that's the television part. And as for the television that they've been building up to the pay-per-views, like tonight, what can definitely be said for AEW is that they have character development in play. Now, it's obvious that some of these stars are working on their own character development and being able to do more with their characters. And you can see that in some of the stars that we have. When I think of Ricochet or FTR, or I look at what MJF's able to go and do, or when I see what Thomas Toni Storm does with her character, and when I see with Ricochet, all across the board, you're seeing various characters. You can definitely see personality. You can definitely see some individuality. You're seeing some. You're not seeing the same people. Like, there's a difference of people that you see on television. And by the way, people complain about the fact that, okay, well, we had all these older stars that were kind of consuming the space right now in AEW when it came to Christian Cage or Adam Copeland or Chris Jericho. Well, not right now. Jericho is on hiatus, it looks like. Copeland is not out there because FTR took him out per storyline. And Christian Cage, he had the chance with that contract to try and get himself closer to doing something with the world title, but that didn't happen either because everything all played out. The one thing that's really left right now, there's a bit of an issue that is not as bad now because of what we're getting with the Death Riders. Because at least now we're not getting the complete beatdowns on a regular basis. The Death Riders are getting handed to them right now. You're seeing the AEW finally getting a victory and Anarchy in the Arena to set things up. But the thing was that really helped out the Death Rider storyline was the inclusion of the EVPs, the Young Bucks, getting involved with them and getting into bed with them. That works out good. And so I liked all that there together. So overall, the night was good. Like when I look at the matches, a lot of timing out. It was just a lot of matches they had tonight. Now, they had some pretty good pre-show matches I didn't even get a chance to catch in 0 Hour with Anna Jay and Harley Cameron over Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. But again, those all been together. And the Anna Jay Harley Cameron tag team has been pretty fun to watch from what I've seen of them. You had a lot of good stars with Bandito, AR Fox, Los Titanes de Aire with Hologram and Commander, Roppongi Vice, and CRU with Action Entry Leo Rush. That's a lot of stars that are flipping and flopping around. 13 minutes in an 8-man tag team match, and Bandito and Hologram Commander and Roppongi Vice, and Hologram and Commander all won their match. And Anna Jay and Harley Cameron won their matches, right? This is late. I was kind of like starting to struggle to stay up because it was getting late and I had been lacking sleep the last couple of nights anyway. But anyways, to start off the pay-per-view proper, Mercedes Moné continues to dominate. 22 wins now in AEW as she's been the TBS champion. And for her, it's been very good to go and see her out there. I've enjoyed her matches, and I think the real turning point for Mercedes Moné to finally get over and to finally feel like she has herself in her comfort zone was once they took out Camille out of the mix. And Camille was already turning face, but unfortunately got injured. But I think right now, what they've been doing with Mercedes Moné has been working. Jimmy Hayter had a hell of a match. What a start of the night. They really started off on a high note with that match. Owen Hart Foundation Cup Tournament Final. So with Mercedes Moné winning, now she could actually consolidate both belts. Which eventually is going to be Toni Storm, who won and retained the women's world title later on tonight. Yep, Mercedes Moné, Toni Storm is now set for All In Texas. But the TBS title is not going to be on the line. It's just going to be the AEW Women's World title. So she can collect both belts. It could very well happen. Then you have FTR and Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. I wasn't sure what to think about this match, but the one thing I could think about is that when I want something that's not non-title, when I want to have a match that's going to have something that's going on, I want in that promotion, there should be matches where you have people that you see on the card that are the heels. They're very much hated. They don't get beaten up like they should, but you want to see the comeuppance. For right now, FTR deserves their comeuppance. They haven't gotten it yet. They initially attacked Cope, then he went after Tony Schiavone, and then he started going after Nigel McGuinness. So like everything going on with this works like, and also Daniel Garcia. So you set up this match, and Nigel McGuinness coming back in to go and work this match. Good stuff. As Stokely in the mix here, FTR now is officially starting to go and channel their Midnight Express. So Stokely is their Jim Cornette, and FTR finally getting over to be heels. I'll tell you this too. Would they have ever had a chance to work and do the kind of heel work they're doing right now if they were still the Revival? I don't think so. I don't think they have the chance to go and work like they do right now. But in the stagnation of the tag team division, by the way, put this in your mind too. when you've had a lot of great matches, listen, with FTR, Young Bucks, and like there was just there's obviously always been good tag team matches and tag teams to have out there, but there's been a little bit of stagnation because the tag teams are just kind of like in the spot as tag teams. But like we need them to be doing something else. We need something where you get heels out there that are built up, and every month we get to a pay-per-view where we see, okay, is somebody going to be able to go and take them down? And that's what we got here. The same thing goes with Ricochet and his domination right now. He had his most recent thing with Zach Allen, right? The one-legged star from a time in WWE that I was not watching. It was like right after WCW folded. That was the part where I was not watching. I was not paying attention to that. But I remember who it was. But Ricochet and Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match, pretty bloody. Expected. Ricochet gets the win. And then the Hurt Syndicate, for the fact that this is a veteran crew. Yes, people were complaining about the fact that the veteran crew right here is holding on to these belts. And it's like, well, where's the younger stars that are going to take over? Well, right now, Hurt Syndicate, they're channeling what I would say. It's like another thing. Another example of another tag team that was very dominant. You waited for the comeuppance. Was a Doom or a Harlem Heat in WCW. And that's just not just because the wrestlers are black. It's just the domination of this crew and the way they look. Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, they look great together. They really match up well together. And whatever matches they put together, whether it's Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara this time around, yeah, it's good. I like it. And now we have MJF and MVP dealing with the shenanigans outside the ring. MJF finding his way. We still have to find out how he's going to really get incorporated now he is part of the Hurt Syndicate and how they set it up. But the Hurt Syndicate right now, they're just taking to town different tag teams that come along that want to go ahead and go after them. And the Hurt Syndicate are going to continue winning until they find the tag team that is going to be chosen to win those belts off of Hurt Syndicate. And there will be a day where that will happen. How that's going to work is what team are they going to have that's going to be ready to go and do that. Yes, this pay-per-view could have had a couple matches that could have been held off to a different night. But, I mean, man, there's just so much going on. There again, with the pay-per-views that they have, they don't do as many where they're just like cramming in pay-per-views at a time. Like the last one we had was Revolution, right? As far as I know. And then, like, you think about the fact that, okay, they do this here. Let's mean Dynasty was before that. And still, I mean, it was a good while before we got to that pay-per-view. Like 7 weeks to get there, and we had a lot of time to build. So when you get to this point, one of the things that AEW is going to do is that if they're going to they're going to charge you what, $39.99 to buy on Amazon Prime or Triller or whatever. Yeah, they're going to make sure that they give you the money's worth. And I think that's one of the things that with Tony Khan, when you have these big pay-per-views like this, yeah, he's going to cram the card because people are paying good money for it. Unlike where WWE can put pay-per-views, kind of go dime a dozen on them. Because remember, if you're paying $5 or $10 a month, or paying for Netflix if you're watching overseas, you get what you pay for. So there has to be such a pay-per-view that has to be really put in a lot of places that you're going to put some significant money into it. So that's the whole point. Now, there's going to be more to be talking about all this with the pay-per-view coming up on Wednesday, because I got to do something for Wednesday. So Tony Storm beats Mina Shirakawa. Good match between them. And Tony Storm, again, set for Mercedes Moné. We'll have to start seeing what they do with that setup now, because that is going to be the next pay-per-view coming up. It's all in Texas. It's going to be all set up to go. Here we go. Big time, big time. Anarchy in the Arena was crazy. Staple gun, they're going to go off on it. They're going to deal with the setup for the Young Bucks, who were left with the Death Riders. Like, the real ending of that was really, really great. To see the exploding table and to see the setup for, again, both Young Bucks being neutralized. And that's how you're going to take them out, with Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland on top at the end, which is really great stuff. And then After that wildness that was there, 35 minutes, you have to go and come back and then go to the trios match, which Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Josh Alexander, and Paragons, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong. This match suffered because the crowd was exhausted. You're not going to be able to do much with this, but they did their best. One of the things is that Paragon, you can see a little bit of the fatigue. They're definitely showing that with Adam Cole, he's definitely like the standout, but he was the one really kind of taking up all the offense, trying to go up against Don Callis' family. It was a bit outmatched, outsmarted. And you can just really see the difference of where Adam Cole is there and can still hold up with these guys, but Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong were seen to be a little bit inferior in this case and starting to show their age and not be able to go and hold up and hang on to help Adam Cole in this match. So they kept it short, but it was good nevertheless. Paragon has no undisputed era. Let's just pick that point as well. But now we're at the point where Don Callis' family looks good. We got to see if they're going to get some gold on them at some point, but they're looking really good right now. And then 37 minutes for Hangman, Adam Page, and Will Ospreay. A classic. There's not much for me to go and say that I have to just stand out more about this pay-per-view. It was really top to bottom. Like, it was an A pay-per-view. Man, this thing just crammed everything in. There was no disappointments in any of these matches. And the direction he went with this, had a really great promo leading up in Dynamite to this match. It felt really respect, but still at the end of the day, didn't think Adam Page was going to win this, but they put him there. And they're going to have Adam Page now back in his spot, going after the world title. Another world title reign looks like it's going to be for Jon Moxley to give up. And I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, Adam Page right now, the build-up is in between when he had with Swerve Strickland, with CM Punk, among other things. Like, right now we're at the point here where he's back to the spot. And I could definitely see where Adam Page is at the point once again, where he's just so hot again. With Will Ospreay, I love what they've done with him, building him up in this company. I think he's definitely gotten... There's much more depth in his personality. It's like we know more about him. We've heard him in promos, before, and see him in his matches. But like, there's something more to him now that there's an emotional investment with Will Ospreay, and the way they set up the promo for the match gave us an emotional investment. This was really well done. Near falls, and just also the psychology of the match from the very beginning. A slow start, plotting, very methodical, and then it picked right up shortly after that, and they just kept going at it. It was really, really well done. For them to go and take that main event spot, ask for that main event spot, take it, and do as well as they did with it. I was very skeptical at first, but they pulled it off. So, this was a longer pay-per-view than expected. But, I mean, this is the way these pay-per-views are for AEW, because they're trying to get the money's worth. But what they did give was the money's worth. So, good on them for what they did tonight. Now, into NXT Battleground. I did not watch the show. All I saw were clips on X. But from what I saw, predictably did not change any titles. Obafemi continues to be NXT champion. Beats Miles Bourne. And Stephanie Vaquer defends the NXT Women's Championship and beats Jordynne Grace. So Jordynne Grace just continues to be beaten on NXT. It's like, well, she's not meant for the main roster. They're not going to put her up there. And as for the other main roster, the person that should be up in the main roster is not. As I predicted, I knew it was going to happen. You could just see it a mile away. Trick Williams, everybody's going to say, but he hit the belt. There's some plunder in here, so it wasn't a clean win, whatever. But Trick Williams got the win over Joe Henry tonight. And Joe Henry, was a 6-month reign as champion? 5-month reign? That's it. So Trick Williams is going into Slammiversary as a TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And I'm guessing Mike Santana is going to be set to go ahead and take him on. because they set him up on TV. So it's as if the WWE right now, NXT is now booking TNA's main event. So I'm trying to figure this all out. Now, there is some distinctive differences between the title win for Trick Williams and what Kenny Omega did in 2021 to become the Impact World Champion at that time. So with Kenny Omega, he did have, it was title versus title against Rich Swann. And Rich Swann, I felt like was a transitional champion. I didn't see him there to be in a permanent spot to hold the belt, but they put him in that spot. And then Kenny Omega won the match. Then you go to Christian Cage. So Christian Cage wins the Impact World title in a transitional period, only to have Josh Alexander defeat him into what will be a long reign for Josh Alexander as the Impact World Champion. His significant run there. So at the time, Impact Wrestling had a purpose, again, to help build up Impact Wrestling at the time, which was really struggling at the time. Because Impact Wrestling, coming out of COVID, yeah, everybody was struggling right now. But then that was a time where AEW was working with everybody. There was a lot of collaboration to try to keep a lot of these wrestling promotions together and keep them valid and vibrant, which was good for what it was worth. But with what AEW did with Kenny Omega holding the belt, and then Kenny Omega doesn't lose the belt to anyone from TNA necessarily, but they let Christian Cage be the one, and then Christian Cage drops the belt. And you made a star in Josh Alexander, who, coming out of tag team work with Ethan Page, you got him to the spot where you wanted to go and see where Josh Alexander became the star in TNA and left as a star coming out of TNA. And now we're at the point where Joe Henry was being built. It was like the star right now, holding the belt for a while in TNA, and is still relatively at a point where people really wanted to see him as champion. And now you go and just drop Trick Williams in here all of a sudden, and you say, oh, well, you put him at Rebellion, and then immediately, first chance you get, you put Trick Williams into a match with Joe Henry at Battleground. You don't even let it happen on a TNA pay-per-view, which, by the way, Under Siege was on last night, and there was a tag team match. So TNA, for their pay-per-view, gets a tag team match. But the NXT Premium Live Events gets Trick Williams winning the TNA title. And then they're going to have to rehash that and play that on TV Thursday night. There's a difference in relationship with what AEW did for Impact and what NXT is doing for TNA. NXT is not serving TNA's best interest, but AEW did. And that's how I'm going to leave it right now for tonight. We're going to come back and do all this again on Wednesday because we did a lot of content. Listen, I did quite a bit of talk about Saturday night's main event and the setup for that and what they got out of that. We'll talk more about the fallout from that and see what they get from it. So we had a good 40 minutes right there. And then you got me right now tonight. You got a good hour of over the weekend of me doing this. So I hope you enjoy it. But we're going to go ahead and untangle all this and just see what comes of all this after TV comes up for both AEW and WWE. We'll figure it all out. Come back for another Wrestling Whisperer podcast because wrestling needs us.